3, 2, 1. Here we go. Hey, welcome everybody. This is the first episode of the Right Line podcast. This is numero uno of Chewing the Dirt for the Right Line. My first guest today is really interesting, and I had him on today because he's a really interesting person. He's into a lot of stuff, and a lot of you probably know who he is, but he's going to tell us a little bit about some of that stuff that he's into. Joseph, the Mini Line. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
How are you doing, buddy?
Good.
That's very cool. I'm really glad to have this opportunity to do this podcast with you. And I mean, we didn't just come out here to film a podcast. We came out here to go camping.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that the podcast happened to fit well. We got this nice spot here, cooler weather here so far, and we're just going to kind of get started. So tell us a little bit about yourself, because you're really into a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah, I'm into RC trucks, both 1/10 scale and 1/24 scale, 3D printing and 3D designing, one-to-one Jeeps, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you want to start with first?
Let's start with the RCs.
Okay, now I know you're into RCs. Now, when I was a kid, RCs were toy grade. This is nothing compared to what they are today.
Yeah.
Today they are amazing, and there's a ton of stuff you can do with them, right? So what is it that you build? What is it that, gets your juices flowing for RC stuff?
Well, for the RC stuff, like the 1/24 scales we have here, I build them to look good and to perform good.
Yeah.
So yours that I built over there has front and rear steer, so it performs really good when you're trying to get around tight corners. You can crab crawl, crab walk, go in a donut. So
now this car is really cool because I had really big ambitions of what this car was going to do. It's more or less a little guy racing car, because everything on here is little guy racing parts, axles, chassis, tires. But it really does well. This is really cool. Now, you've built this for me.
Yep.
Well, we kind of did it together, really, as a father-son thing. But you've got that car there.
Yep, this is my most recent build based off a old Power Wagon.
But you've got a couple of those. How many of those have you built? Because I know you built one for a friend.
Yeah, I've built that one.
Yeah.
The 24 scales I've built. The ones I have running right now, I have 3 currently running. I have 2 more at home that I'm working on building right now, so I'll have 5 total.
5 total. But some of them you've built from scratch, minus the frame rails. Like I know that one's got special frame rails, but and then you built the other one that you built for a friend of ours. Now you built a JLU, a Rubicon.
Yeah.
And I know you went crazy with that one, because that one was something special you were building for them, and you modeled it after their 1-to-1 rig.
Yeah.
Tell us what you did with that one? Why is that one so cool?
That one was really cool to build because he wanted a custom body that was similar to his Jeep in real life. So trying to mask off the body and the fenders to get it all just painted almost near perfect was kind of challenging. It took about a week and a half to mask off the fender flares from the rest of the body and mask off the grille. And mask off the windows and everything else for that body. It took about a week and a half just trying to get all the nice minute details of the curves.
Yeah, and you even did bumpers that were similar to his.
Yep.
You did wheels. I mean, what did you do with the wheels?
I sent the wheels out to a buddy of mine and had him strip the anodizing off the aluminum and do a clear anodization to it. So now it's just the raw silver aluminum with clear anodizing, so it doesn't corrode or get damaged over time.
Those turned out awesome. I really liked the way they turned out for his vehicle. And you did bumpers as well.
Yep, I custom 3D designed some bumpers. I took different models that I liked and cut them up and spliced them all together to make a very custom bumper, so it looked nothing like it originally did.
That's really cool.
Did that with the front, and then for the rear I made a custom tire carrier with a gas can on it. So
yeah. I think it's amazing that you can go to that much detail with those things and 3D print out and make exactly what you want. But I mean, I know you 3D printed some stuff for his car, but you've 3D printed stuff for other cars as well.
Yep.
The 3D printing thing is really kind of cool that you've been into. How did you get into the 3D print thing? And tell us a little bit about that, because you're doing pretty good with these prints.
Well, I started 3D printing in 7th grade, junior high, during a project we were doing. We had to find an alternative way to make something. So at the time, I was starting to get into RC stuff, and so I was trying to figure out what I could 3D print, what parts someone wasn't making that I could 3D print.
Right.
And it just so happened to be control arms for these trucks.
Yeah, the high clearance ones.
Yeah, the high clearance ones. Everyone was making them out of aluminum, other types of plastic, but no one was 3D printing them at the time.
Well, and I know you and I were both kind of, well, I don't know if you and I were both skeptical about them, but I know you were pretty confident about these 3D printed arms. And what, if out of the, 2 or 3 dozen that you've printed, we've only broken 2 control arms?
We've broken 4.
4?
4.
I think all 4 of them were on my rig, weren't they?
And yeah, they were all on your rigs, and they, well, I've broken 3 now on mine, and you've only broken the 1 on yours, the rear one on yours. The 3 on my trucks have survived 8-foot falls.
Yeah, I mean, even breaking, even only having broken 4.
Yeah.
Out of the, like I said, 2 or 3 dozen you've printed, I'd say that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, the ones that I broke, the only reason they broke is because it landed sideways like that. But they've survived 8-foot falls otherwise.
So you've printed the bumpers and stuff for that Jeep, plus these control arms. You've printed a battery cover that looked like a fuel cell, which really turned out cool. And then you 3D printed a whole bunch of stuff for the Overland trailer behind us. And the other couple things that you printed recently for me for work were really cool. You printed a 3D printed middle ear.
Yep, 2 of those.
2 of those. I have to do a vestibular project at work, and I have to have the middle ear. And then the speech therapists at work were so impressed with the middle ear, they wanted a larynx, and you printed a larynx.
Yep.
So, I mean, when I was 16 years old, 3D print wasn't even a thing. If you'd said to me at 16 years old, we can 3D print something for you, I'd go, what? And then you'd show me a model of it, I'd be blown away.
Yeah.
But you got into this really young, like you were talking about. You've been doing it now for a while. What machine do you use? What does it kind of entail? Because it's detailed, and I know you tried to explain it to me once before with the printer and the slicing software and how to 3D make it. How does that all work?
So I use a FlashForge Creator Pro 2. And it's a pretty good beginner entry-level 3D printer.
Yeah.
If you're looking to start out for a 3D printer, I definitely recommend that. There's some other ones I would recommend more, but that's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Slicer software is what you take your 3D model after you've designed it, and after you take your model and download it after it's been designed, you put it into the Slicer software and change a bunch of settings. So like, if something is at a 90-degree overhang, obviously you can't print in air, so you have to tell it to put support material, which supports that 90-degree. You can do that in the Slicer software. You can tell it how thick to print something, how much detail to print it with.
Right.
So it just basically tells the 3D printer how to print your object.
That's pretty cool. So this is the kind of interesting stuff that I thought would be a really cool bit to include in the podcast, because you know, I want the podcast to be, it is called Chewing the Dirt. And, you know, my Facebook group and my channel are mostly based on some of the stuff that we do outdoors.
Yep.
Outdoor related kind of cool stuff. But the podcast is going to be cool stories, cool information, cool whatever. You know, if it's a cool story, or if it's an interesting story, or if it's somebody interesting like you, right, then I want to try to have something put on the podcast. And I mean, now a lot of people may or may not know this, but I mean, I didn't just have you on because you're a cool kid, but because we are related.
Yep.
But I just thought this would be really cool to have you on here. And you know, the 3D print stuff is really cool. You're into that. I get that. And I know that takes up a lot of your time.
Yeah.
But really printing some cool stuff.
Designing and then 3D printing takes a lot of time.
Yeah. What else are you into? Because I seem to feel like every time I come home from work, you're busy doing something.
Well,
You're either printing or...
I'm either playing Xbox, 3D designing, 3D printing something, or just tinkering with the RCs, tearing them apart, rebuilding them, doing something to them.
Right. Okay. Now, the print stuff is cool, but you got something else bigger going on.
Yep.
Don't you? What is it you got big going on?
I've now got my own Jeep.
Got your own Jeep. Your own one-to-one.
Yep. 2001 Jeep TJ.
That is incredible, right? Now we actually yesterday on my phone it told me that a year ago to the day we brought that Jeep home.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
a year
pretty-
ago.
Wow.
Doesn't seem like a year ago.
No, it doesn't. It seems
Doesn't
like
at all.
longer than that.
It does. We haven't really done a whole lot of it on the channel. I mean, you have a YouTube channel as well,
Yeah.
right? It's called the Mini Line.
Yep. Mostly on Instagram now, though.
Yep. The
Sa-
_mini_ line, right?
Yep, on Instagram.
Okay. But we were kind of put your TJ on my channel, right?
Yep.
That's what we kind of decided to do because I know you'd kind of, I don't know if you lost interest in the channel, but it was kind of hard because I know you didn't really dig the whole editing video thing.
Yeah, editing wasn't my strong suit. I was having you do that for a while for me, and then I just kind of got out of it because I got Instagram, and
Yeah.
Instagram I found was a lot better to transfer all my content over because more people can see it easier.
Yeah.
So, and I'm higher on followers now on Instagram than I ever was on YouTube. So,
Yeah. The Gram. The Gram's pretty cool.
yeah,
I'm on the Gram too.
except when it's not cool,
That is true.
and they make sure your content isn't seen by people.
Well, well, the reason why I brought it up was because I filmed a video of your Jeep and I introduced it to everybody on the channel, and I think it turned out really good. We had the top off. We've done some work to your Jeep, which
Yeah.
is really cool. We got some plans for that. We can talk about that in a minute. But, it was just kind of a really kind of unique circumstance, right? Grandpa decided,
Yeah.
hey, I'm not driving anymore. Why don't you guys come pick this up and take it home?
Yeah, it was definitely a unique circumstance.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Now we kind of joked that you and I were just gonna fly up home and we were just gonna drive it home and roadkill at home.
Yeah.
And
Kind of glad we didn't do that now.
I'm really glad we didn't do it because it had some things going on.
Yeah, that radiator was really bad. All the coolant in it was rotten. The hoses were starting to dry rot.
Yeah, radiator was busted. It needed
Yeah.
a radiator.
Leaking like crazy.
Well, since we've had it, like one of the first things we did was we just redid the whole cooling system.
Yeah.
Radiator, water pump, hoses,
Thermostat.
thermostat, everything. We just kind of did the whole 9
Yeah.
yards. Flushed the block out because that coolant in there was pretty bad.
It smelled like dead, rotten fish.
It did.
It was not fun.
No, and you know what the funny thing is that your Jeep TJ, we kind of talk about cooling system in TJs. Your 4-liter with a manual fan runs cooler than my JK, an electric fan.
Yep.
And it's a smaller engine. Go figure.
What are the odds?
I know. I wish I could put a manual fan on my Jeep.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen.
We've still got the same amount of pistons, just in a different layout.
Yeah.
And mine's smaller in size.
So you're driving this Jeep now. You've got your license. You're driving it to school. It's got to be exciting.
Yeah, it is. I'm driving it around a lot of places now.
Yeah. You've driven some pretty interesting stuff. When we did the Arizona BDR, you drove Chewy dragging the trailer for like
Yeah.
60 miles.
Yeah,
That was really pretty cool.
I did pretty good on that. Pretty good on that. Yeah.
Yeah. We got to get you out in the dirt and get your tires onto some rock for rock crawling.
Yeah.
and
We got
some of
to
that stuff.
We got to dirt baptize the TJ.
We do that. We have some work that we want to get done to it though, right? We've done a
Yeah.
bunch of other stuff. We did some gaskets and remain seal and
We stopped my oil leak from happening.
yeah, at the engine.
Yep.
You brought that up and I didn't even think about it at the time, but you were talking to me about synthetic oils in a 4-liter.
Yeah, synthetic oils just don't match with the 4-liter very well. I know a couple other people that have TJs that I've talked to on like Instagram and at school, and they've said, yeah, don't put synthetic in it. It just goes right past the gasket and leaks like crazy.
I know I've heard that in the past, and I don't know if I really believed it, but when we switched yours to conventional oil with the last oil change, all that oil dripping pretty much stopped.
Yeah, it's got a tiny drip here and there. Say every 4 weeks or so it drips
Yeah.
just tiny bits, but
Yeah.
it doesn't drip a whole lot anymore.
I think you stumbled into a pretty good project there and a pretty good daily for a
Yeah.
first-time rig. I mean, we had to do some work. Also, we had to go over that transfer case because we had to rebuild that completely because it was leaking
Yeah.
and weeping all over the place. But you've got some goals for this Jeep. You've got some things you want. We have some hard parts and things we want to put onto
Yeah.
this Jeep to make it better.
We've got some big goals, some even bigger goals.
Yeah.
The biggest goal, which won't happen for a while, is LS swapping it, V8 LS. That won't happen for a long time though, because that's really expensive. But the more realistic goals coming up here in probably a year and a half, 2 years, we're putting the JK Dana 44 axle in the rear.
Yep.
We still got to find the front one.
Yep, we need one for the front. We're looking for a JK Rubicon Dana 44, unmolested, not damaged, stock, if anybody's got one.
Yep. Then we're going to put the Game Changer lift kit from Metal Cloak under it.
Yep.
35-inch tires.
Yep.
We're going to change out the bumper and the winch at some point as well.
Yeah.
More recently, we've put in the Rock Hard 4x4 sport cage.
Little safety there.
Yep.
Yep.
At some point, we'll do a long arm kit on the TJ. That's way in the future, though.
in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll also need slip yoke eliminator, drive shafts, that kind of stuff. But we're well on our way to make that a pretty well capable trail rig. It runs great. It only has how many thousand miles on it?
108 right now.
108,000 miles, and it's a 2001. That's pretty good.
And when we got it last summer, it only had 105,000.
Yeah. No, I'd say it's pretty good platform to start with.
Yeah.
So, well, that's cool. I know you're really into that, and I know you're excited about working on it, and because I know that you have a big trip planned in mind.
Yep. In 2 years, when I graduate high school, I'd like to go run the Nevada BDR.
Yeah.
Week-long BDR trip.
Right, right. Now, we're not just running the Nevada BDR for nothing. We want to run it to get up to Idaho.
Yep, to go show Grandpa the fully built Jeep.
Go visit Grandpa.
Yeah.
That'll be really cool. I know he's going to really dig that.
Yeah.
He's going to like that.
And that's a week on the trail alone. That's
Right.
not counting the 2 days back.
Right.
And the 2 days to get to the trail.
Right. Plus, whatever time we want to spend there in town visiting family. So, well, that's really cool. What else you got going on? What else are you interested in? Do you have any love interests?
Nope, not
No,
right now.
Not yet. Well, you got lots of time for that.
Yeah.
Young 16-year-old kid. You're smart.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, I like it. I'm excited to see where you're going to go with the Jeep, and I love watching these RC builds, and they're really exciting to see you do that kind of stuff. Now, you kind of talked about your 3D printer a little bit ago, but I forgot about something that I wanted to ask you about, is that you've named your 3D printer.
Yep. I named it Stanley Steamer.
And why did you do that?
So anyone who's seen the Stanley Steamer Your Home Cleaner commercials, you know that jingle. You can't forget it once you hear it. The startup, when I turn my 3D printer on, sounds like the first half of the Stanley Steamer jingle.
Yep.
When it finishes 3D printing, it sounds like the second half.
The second half of it.
So now it's named Stanley Steamer.
Stanley Steamer. That's really cool. I think that's cool.
Yeah. Also, talking about RC parts, if anyone that watches the podcast follows me on Instagram or follows my dad on Instagram and does RC stuff and wants to sponsor us.
Oh, speaking of that, I didn't mean to interrupt you and take your thunder away, but what about the cargo bag thing?
Cargo gear, yeah.
Cargo gear. Tell us about that. Do you have your bag with you, or do you need to go grab it?
I need to go grab it real quick.
All right, why don't you go grab it real quick, because we've got to talk about that cargo gear thing. The cargo gear thing is really pretty cool. We stumbled across that at the Overland Expo, and Joseph loves this bag. He'll show it to you here in just a minute, but...
Here it is.
All right, tell us all about your cargo gear bag and what you want to let everybody know about it.
Okay, so the cargo gear backpack is made by a company, small family in Colorado, so made here in the USA. They make all sorts of bags. They make backpacks, cargo packs, like what you would use for going on vacation.
Duffels, they got duffels too?
They've got duffels as well. And then one of their newer products, which just came out earlier this year, is their new action pouches.
I love that.
Packer pouch.
I love that. You've got some other stuff in there too. You got pack tools in it, right?
Yeah, this carries all my RC tools in it whenever we go somewhere, and they've got 3 different sizes and all sorts of different colors. This one, I believe, is the medium size. They've got a large one, and then they've got a small one as well.
That's awesome.
And this backpack is the Rumbo backpack.
Okay.
It's an 8.6 liter backpack. Comes in this kind of nylon fabric. They've got...
it's kind of like a ripstop material, or is it canvas?
It's ripstop.
Okay.
And then they've got all sorts of different colors for it right now.
Okay.
This backpack's great for all my RC stuff on the front webbing here. I can fit almost all 4, all 5 of our RC trucks. Down. Yep. Inside, I can fit almost all my tools. When I went to Idaho last year, I fit my soldering iron and my
You had so many tools on
my
that
whole
trip?
workstation, basically.
I thought you were building something from scratch on that trip. You had so many tools.
I started to. But I'm an ambassador for Cargo Gear. I have a 10% off your entire purchase.
Yeah,
at
tell us
checkout.
about that.
If you use my code, the_mini_line, all capitals, at checkout, you'll get 10% off your entire order, no matter what you buy.
Yep.
You can also use my link to get there, which is cargogear.com/the_mini_line, all capitals again.
Say that 10 times fast.
Yeah. But if you do use my code, I do get a 10% kickback, so it helps fund more cool RC builds, buying more cool backpacks,
Jeep
anything
builds.
like that. The Jeep build, yeah.
Yes. That's awesome.
But if you're looking for an RC backpack, I highly recommend this backpack. It fits everything I need for RC stuff, or even if I'm just going out on a daily adventure somewhere, or just daily drive.
Well, you've learned a lot with the whole 3D print thing and with some of the Jeep projects you've helped me with in the garage and stuff, but you got a lot of other things to pick up and learn too, because we're going to start doing a little bit of welding.
Yep, I've got to learn how to do some welding.
Yeah, because we've got, with these axles for your TJ, we got to strip all those factory JK brackets off.
Yep.
And then weld on. Artec has a kit that sells brackets when you go from JK to a TJ. You just weld it on and it's bolt in.
Got to make sure we get it all lined up and then tack it in place, weld it on.
You're going to help me with that.
Yeah.
You're going to help me with that.
I'm excited to do that.
No, that'll be fun. We'll have to wait till the fall because right now it's insanely hot.
Yeah, it's 80 up here right now, but down in the valley it's what, 110 probably already?
It's probably getting there.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's getting there. Well, Joseph, this was really cool. I'm glad we did this, and I'm glad that you were my first guest because I was real excited to get you on there. Plus, it's kind of nice because you and I could kind of work out some of these bugs with all the techie stuff. I mean, Joe, you've kind of been my guy in the chair. You know how a superhero has a guy in a chair?
Yep.
You're kind of been that. Now, I will say most of the time it's when I have trouble with something, you're like, Dad, just give it to me.
And then I fix it.
And then you fix it. So that's how I remember kids, when I was a kid, that's how it was with the adults at the time. We would, pick up I can program that alarm clock. Let me have it, and whatever it is.
Yeah. Now we're programming cameras to work and programming RCs to
that's really
drive
cool.
better. So.
All right, Joe. Well, hey, this has been a really good time. I really enjoyed the heck out of this weekend. I have some pretty good ideas of what this podcast is going to look like, and it's super cool to have you as the first guest. Numero uno.
First guest ever.
First guest ever. So the way the podcast will look is basically I want to try to get somebody really cool in that chair who's got a cool story to tell, about a 30, 35-minute podcast.
Yep.
And I'm going to try to upload those as many as I can, maybe every 2 or 3 weeks or so, because it does take a lot of time to get all these things edited.
Yeah, you've got to find the people and then edit the videos. So.
I do have a list of folks that I will be reaching out to, some people who have cool stories to tell. If you think you've got a cool story to tell, reach out to me and let me know, and maybe we can get you into a podcast.
Some longtime viewers of the channel might have a couple people
Wouldn't that be cool?
might want to have on.
I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
So, well, Joseph, is there anything else you want to talk about? Anything else you want to add and let all the viewers know about before we go?
My discount code for Cargo Gear will be in my bio on Instagram, and we'll probably pop it up on camera here as well.
Right here, yep. We'll put it down here.
As well as the link, and if you want any custom 3D design parts for RCs or anything like that, hit me up on Instagram, DM me, let me know what you want. I can only print smaller to medium-sized stuff because I'm limited with my 3D printer, but I can definitely 3D print some SEX24 stuff, axial 1/10 scale stuff, so.
The_mini_line on Instagram.
Yep. All lowercase on Instagram, but the discount code is the same thing, but all capitals.
Awesome. Well, Joe, it's been a good time. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
All right, thanks for watching, everybody, and I hope to see you on the next episode of The Right Line, Chewing the Dirt. Take care. Thank you.